Hey guys, good morning. Saturday morning. I had to actually do this video in the car because of it's been a really noisy morning and just trying to get things going. I was out actually this morning doing some stuff with the Arizona Ghost Riders, so filming them. And anyway, by the way, their channel has hit 1,000 subscribers. Yay, man, that's awesome. It's really neat to see a lot of the channels grow and, you know, hit some numbers that in a lot of cases did not expect. Like even for my channel here, the numbers I've reached here is pretty amazing. I didn't think when I first started doing this YouTube bit would make some numbers like that. I'm trying to pull up your comments here. Let's see here. There we go. Yeah, so the last video we did, the last Saturday morning bit we did was actually out at Trail Dust Town, running around there at night. So that was really interesting. Okay, so as far as comments go, we have Mr. Holster. Mr. Holster tuned in there. And we have Lion Quest Fitness. He says, you're making me want to see Arizona. Yeah, Mr. Zona Cat 1, speaking of Zona. All right. He says, this night video is cool. So, yeah, it was fun to go around there and film at night. Of course, we have the Arizona Ghost Riders and Varen K, D-Win. And we have the Crazy Scotsman, the Gunfighter, 45 ACP. We're going to be talking about some 45 ACP here. Scott F, Edward Petty, Bob Hartman, Joe P. Hey, Joe. How's it going over there? And we got EB Saint, Peppered 88, and Richard Landeros, Douglas Walther, Lead 8541, and Bernard Flood. It has been cold today, which is really nice. I do like that. We were out there filming, and definitely jacket weather, which is really awesome to have that going on here. But anyhow, what I wanted to talk to you folks about, I guess we'll just get right into it, is gun companies and my experiences with some of these firearm companies. Sometimes you wonder if how did they treat you? Did they treat you good? Did they did they treat you like did they treat you bad? So overall, now these are just going to be raw opinions, experiences, my experience. That's it. Just my experience. I'm not going to speak for somebody else. I'm not going to go and say, well, this happened to somebody, you know, that I know of, or anything like that. No, these are just strictly from things that I experienced from me contacting gun companies. Okay. So first up, some time back, if some of you have been around with this channel for quite a while, you guys remember that I had a Ruger, it was a Mark III pistol. It was a 22, and I had actually broke the rear sight. Yeah, true story. That rear sight broke by any of you that know the Mark III, it's not a very fun gun to take apart and clean and everything like that. In fact, it can be very troublesome if you don't quite understand it. So needless to say, that gun kind of took a dive off the table and broke the rear sight. That's where it hit directly, was on the rear sight, being that gun was top heavy because the bottom half of the frame was polymer. So it broke. I wound up calling, a friend of mine told me, he's the guy I bought it from, gun dealer. He said, you know, call Ruger, they'll probably send you one for free. So I did, and Ruger was very good with me. They were on it. I don't remember if they took the serial. I think they might have taken the serial number off the gun, and they were really on it. Sent the part out to me, and it was no big deal. And that to me is that shows a lot. That if a company is willing to do that, just replace a part like that for you, yeah, that's really that shows something there. So another experience I had was with a Colt. I had a Colt 1911 that was somebody had removed the rear sight off of it and replaced it with something that was I thought was for that type of gun. It was supposed to represent the old GI style models, and somebody took out the rear sight, which is those nice military. Well, I don't know if they're nice, but they're correct for the gun, the old military sights, and put in some adjustable sight thing. I removed that immediately and wanted to replace it with a regular style military sight that the Colt had originally done. So called up Colt, gave them the serial number, and they were again on it. What a great company. They just were like, yeah, no problem. They sent it out to me. It was for free, mind you. This is free. Free, no cost to me. They paid for the shipping and everything. That was Colt. Sent me out the custom part that was done up, and it was an easy installation. That was no problem. I just tapped it in with a brass punch, and yeah, we're good to go on that one. So I had really good experience right there with Colt. And then my Kimber 1911, my Desert Warrior. If you guys saw that, when I first bought that, the slide actually would lock back during shooting while there was still rounds in the magazine. And so I called them up and asked them about that, and they said, well, what you have is probably one of the ones that got out there with the slide stop or slide release was not properly fitted. So without any hesitation, they sent me out a brand new slide stop immediately and to replace it. And now this thing was at my door in like 3 days, I remember, and that was living out in Hawaii. So good customer service on their part. They took care of it right away. They did not waste time into getting it out to you. And that's the one thing is when you're a customer on the other end, you have the firearm, and you don't want to wait, especially if it's something you just got. You don't want to wait around. I mean, what? The whole point of getting it, you bought it, you're happy with it, you hope so, and then you want to go out and play with the thing, you want to shoot it, you want to, so to have that part in the mail in 3 days, that was a really big plus for them. So that was from Kimber. So now I will say this, and I know that some of you will probably disagree or whatnot, or again, this is just my experiences. They're unfortunately, they weren't all good. I won't really get into too much detail because I wasn't mainly the one handling it. Again, I'm just going to tell you from what I experienced. If you guys remember some time back, I had posted a video on a Glock slide that was broken on the bottom, the where the guide rod fits. It was snapped off. Anyway, what we wound up doing, I'll just answer that, clarify it right now. What we wound up doing was actually sending that gun back to Davidson's. Anybody that's a gun dealer shop, at the time I was working for a gun shop, that was a private mom and pop shop. Great company. And the owner wound up replacing it through Davidson's. But the first thing I did was I called Glock for them. And through my brief talk with them, was they weren't too interested in helping out. It mostly felt like they were accusing me of doing something to it. And I said, well, this is a customer's gun. And, well, was he firing reloads, or was he, all this stuff. It was like, wow. So interesting. It was so it wasn't the greatest. It was kind of a little bit opposite on wanting the. And I don't know. Maybe that's just my experience. Maybe you've had better experience, but I didn't have the greatest experience with them. Most recent my purchase was with Inland, the Inland 1911. If you guys saw that, if you haven't, check it out. There's a good 3 or 4 videos or something or so about it. I think it was like 3 videos I did. I recently purchased that Inland World War II 1911 copy. I really wanted a Inland 1911, or not an Inland, but I wanted a World War II copy 1911 because I just loved that style. And one of the things that I really enjoy about it is the finish on those guns. All the guns from World War II, you know, you look at the M1 Garands, you look at the M1 carbines, they have this kind of like a off color finish to them. It's like a gray kind of green. You know, for anybody to sit there and tell me that they're not green, I don't know. Maybe you're colorblind. But in fact, I was actually watching the forensics files not too long ago. In fact, while this was all happening, and it was ironic that the episode I was watching was about this guy that attempted to fend off an intruder in his house. He was unfortunately unsuccessful and was killed, but I mean, that's forensics files, right? That's why, I mean, most of the time we watch them, it's tragedy. But anyhow, he had they even describe it, a distinctive 1911 pistol that the guy had brought back with him from the war. And the guy that the description of it was when they caught the guy, and the guy's telling his side of the story, and he says, well, he came downstairs with a green pistol, a green colored 45 pistol, and it was kind of interesting to see that they even in the show they described it as a green pistol. They for some reason, I don't know. And then also too, the different lighting and the different most of the time you see photos of them or videos of them, but it does I guess the lighting can change on them. The lighting can definitely do something to them. All of a sudden the lighting, oh well, it's not quite green, and there could be definitely different shades of it. So all the ones that I've ever seen were kind of greenish. They do have if you hold them side to side with something that is just regular, like a dark parkerizing, like a flat black parkerizing or something. Now the only other company I've ever seen do it right is actually Auto Ordnance. I believe they're now owned by Car Arms. Their World War II replica 1911 is spot on. It's great. The color is good. It's not as green as the older stuff, but I mean, that could have some, maybe age or whatever. But now I could be, I'm not saying that this is like 100% correct or anything, but I've heard a lot of stories about why those guns from World War II are greenish. And the one that makes the most sense to me, and it was, I believe it was, I forget who told it to me or whatever, but it's because the amount of guns they were parkerizing, it became contaminated. The parkerizing was somehow contaminated or something, and when they were running the process and doing it, some of them, it just turned out that color. Now it wasn't, from what I understand, and I've talked to old timers too, the people that were in the gun business about it, because I heard a story about, well, it's the cosmoline that changed the color on it. It was the cosmoline that turned them green. Well, cosmoline is used on all kinds of guns, not just guns, but most of the time, whenever I think of that stuff, or I think of those old, those Russian rifles or Chinese rifles that comes in, or they're just smothered in cosmoline. For when I saw those, that they're not green. So, at least the ones I saw. So I'm kind of more partial to believing that it was some sort of the phosphorus parkerizing, whatever it is that did it. In fact, I have a book 1911 book. Maybe that's where I read it. I think that's I don't know. But anyhow, that's just me. I'm just kind of like that stickler about things like that. In fact, I don't know if you guys are subscribed to it or if you watch it. There's a channel called My Hollow Point. He no longer makes videos as of right now. I really miss his channel, but he has a video about him buying the Springfield 1911 that was very close, and he was trying to get the grips correct down to the original style grips that they had back then. It was like a brown, like a reddish brown dark grips that they're putting on there. They're like plastic or something, or Bakelite, or I don't know, but you know, he went through quite a mess, or you know, a journey, a determination to find that color and to do it. So I'm not the only one, you guys. So it's really cool to see somebody else that passionate about something like that. So when you are like me, where it's like, you know, I really wanted to have this color. So when I saw the inlands coming out, I saw them. They actually had that off color, man. That was like, it was kind of a greenish off color. They had it right. They did it. And when I saw them, and I've seen them I've held 2 different ones in my hand. They were correct. I saw photos of them, videos of them. They all turned out that same color. And what really did it for me was the roll marks. They really went the extra mile and did the roll marks correct on there. So now, when I went and, you know, traded in and sold a couple of guns to buy this thing, and I got it in, mine was flat black, and that was not what I saw. That was not what I, you know, wanted. So, now it's not the shop that I bought it from. It's not their fault or anything like that. So, anyhow, I still like the gun. Don't get me wrong; it's a great pistol. I called Inland, and I'm not here to bash a company or anything like that. But I'm just here to just kind of tell you my experience with them. Inland told me, well, that's the way they all looked. They're all like that, and I said, I said, well, I've saw pictures and I saw the other ones, and which is basically, to me, it felt like they were just trying to pawn it off and just say, well, you know, they were never the greenish looking color, and they denied it was ever green. It's got a tinge of green to it. Okay, so after they going back and forth, they finally admitted that their first run of guns were lighter in color, and when they parkerized them, some came out, the frames were darker, the slides are different colors in the frames. There was a two-tone thing going on, and people were complaining about that and all this stuff. To clarify that a little bit, I will say this from what I saw. The slide and frame were about the same color. At least the 2 that I saw were the same greenish kind of off-colored parkerizing job. But the controls, like the trigger, the slide stop, the hammer, the thumb safety, those were indeed black. They were indeed black, and I believe the magazine, the mainspring housing, I believe were. So it did look off. It did look weird, because it looked like they did their sliding frames and then just went, you know, and bought all their parts and just put them on there. And of course the parts are black. So that could be also what was going on there. But then, you know, I kept, you know, going back and forth with this guy, and I believe his name is Ron. And then he said, it finally came to it. He says, well, the reason why the old military ones were greenish is because of the cosmoline. Now, I don't know. You know, I mean, there again, that question comes up, and I think that's something that's been tossed around a lot. And again, I've talked to people that were in the business for a long time. They said that doesn't do it. I don't know. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I know that I've seen a lot of, in my other shop, a lot of those old surplus rifles come in with cosmoline, all of them. We had to clean them up and everything like that. Those guns were not green, they were black. So I don't know. Again, I think I'm gonna have to go back and look at that book and see if that was what was going on, because I remember reading somewhere that it was the contaminants of the parkerizing that made them turn green-ish. That's the key word. They're not like green, like, you know, olive green or anything like that. They just have like an off color to them. So anyway, going back and forth with this guy with Inland, and they wound up saying, well, I'll tell you what, if if we come across a lighter colored parkerizing thing, parkerized gun, then we'll give you a call and we'll trade it out for you. I said, all right, well, here, take my number and everything. And then I kind of asked them, I said, well, how long could this be? And they said, well, it could be a week, it could be a month, you know. And I'm like, wow, gee, you know, it's just like, man, so you want me to sit here with this gun I bought, put it in a case and just look at it, and that's it, and don't fire it, don't do anything with it until you guys call me back. Well, they never did call me back. It's been a little while, you know. They never did call me back, so I don't know. But aside from that, the gun's pretty good. If you are looking for that particular color, you might want to be a little cautious if you're going to order one and it's going to be a newer one. It's probably going to be black, flat black, unless you find one in a gun show or gun shop that's an older one that is kind of that offsetting green. Might be worth picking up because they're not doing it anymore like that. I don't know, if you ask me, that was dumb, because that's the color that they were. So anyhow, if you wanted to know what I did to mine, check it out. It's on the channel. I did alter mine. So anyhow, but yes, we'll talk about some gun companies and things that I've experienced. And again, I'm not sitting there trying to trash any company. I'm not like angry with Inland or anything like that. I think they produce a fine. I'm just so glad that a company is doing what they're doing. I'm really happy for that. I just wish they would have stuck with that color, because you know, if you're gonna go all the way and really, you know, like I'll say this again, I've yet to see a company that has done a spot-on copy of like a World War II 1911. Okay, so especially when the company, like they even Inland said, you know, oh well, we have a authentic one that we replicated from. Well, I mean, in my opinion, well, then you drop the ball in a couple areas. So, but it's okay. It's okay. But there is, you know what, I take that back. There is a company that has done a really good job at replicating it. And you know who that is? The people themselves. Colt. I'll see you guys later.